Well, the Olympics, of course, starts this week. As is tradition, before the opening ceremony, the soccer's already kicked off. And it kicked off which just grabbed headlines everywhere because of what happened. Argentina taking on Morocco. Argentinians, a national anthem was booed by Morocco at the start of the game. Morocco would have a 2-0 lead. Argentina got themselves back into it. Simeone with the goal in the second half. And Argentina thought that they'd equalise late on. And when I say late on, this was in the 16th minute of injury time. However, they celebrated, that stirred the crowd up. The crowd started throwing things onto the pitch. The game was suspended. During the suspension, by the way, it took about an hour for them to realise that the Argentinian goal was in fact offside. That got chalked off. The Argentinian players, the Morocco players, had then go out, back out, play the last 2 minutes. Morocco held on. They win by 2-1. So much to dissect from this, so much so. We've got Julia, this is what Javier Mascherano said, by the way. This is the biggest circus I've ever seen in my life, of course, in charge of this young Argentinian side. For more on this, shall we? From France, let's welcome in, shall we? Julien Laurent joins us, as does Fernando Palomo. Fernando, this is crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, that's the only way to describe it. You actually gave a very shortened version of everything that happened in those last 20 minutes of regulation, quote-unquote regulation, because then it spent 2 hours trying to figure out what else was going to happen after that. They threw the crowd out. They played the last couple of minutes of the game 2 hours after the initial suspension with no crowd in the stands. Granted, this was happening in Saint Etienne. I was watching the Spain game, the Spain match against Uzbekistan in Saint Denis here in Paris. And for no reason at all, with like 5 minutes to go in that match, I saw a spurt of security, like double down on whoever was there. Well, they just doubled the size of the security for that match. I was like, well, there's nothing happening in this match for security to just all of a sudden double up. But I guess everybody was put on alert that things were happening in Saint Etienne that they didn't want them to happen in Saint Denis. But of course, the ingredients were much, much different here.
Let's ask the obvious question first, Jules. Why did it take so long for them to realise the goal was offside? Oh, Fernando, sorry. Fernando, why did it take so long for them?
I do not have an explanation for that. Both captains actually have said, and Nico Tamendi stated in the Argentinian press, that both captains, both the Argentinian captains and Moroccan captains had come to not an agreement, but they understood that the game could not be played. The players were waiting and waiting and waiting, and all they got from the officials was an answer from, is this going to be played? Officials would say, let's wait and see. But all the waiting for this to come out, and granted, the offside was about an inch long. So still, it's a thing that you have to believe in technology. But why did it come for it to become a 2-hour wait? Two ingredients, I suppose, were mixed into the equation. First, the revision at VAR, and the VAR, because it is a game of an inch, decided by an inch. Morocco ended up winning the game. The equalizer was taken off the scoreboard, and then clearing everybody out of the stands because there was no guarantee for the players' safety. There was a pitch invasion. There were bottles thrown. So the referee and the security of the stadium could not guarantee the safety of the players. Therefore, they had to wait for the stadium to be cleared out. That's, I think, one of the most or closest answers you can get when you ask that question of why did it take so long.
I think we've got Jules with us now. Jules, what are the repercussions of what we've seen? Is there any chance we could see, for example, Morocco have their points taken away because of the crowd? Where do we go from here?
No, I don't think so. I don't think anything will happen now. I mean, I agree with Mascherano in the sense that what circus this was. I mean, I was watching on French television. The commentators didn't even know what was going on. Nobody knew, really. The players didn't know. People in the stadium didn't know. Watching on television, we didn't know. I'm sure Fair didn't know either. It was just a complete mess. But I don't think anything will happen. They took that decision. I think the semi-automatic offside, which works in these Olympic Games, must have given the answer very quickly. Then they took a long time to tell the players and to have the game restarted. They had to wait for everybody to leave the Geoffroy Guichard Stadium. And only after that, they were ready to restart the game just to play the last 2 minutes of it, which was really completely unnecessary. I know it's the rules and they probably had to follow them, but it was completely crazy, really, when you think about it.
And it was a tense atmosphere, wasn't it, Jules? Right from the start, we saw the booing of the national anthem from what was a predominantly Moroccan crowd.
Yeah, 30,000 Morocco fans in the stadium, probably around that for a 45,000-seater stadium. But we knew there's a strong North African community in Saint-Etienne and Lyon where the games were happening, far more than what Argentina could bring as fans or people from Argentina who live there. So we knew that was always going to be the case. And it was quite festive at the start, to be fair. And then you're right, the anthem were booed. Then I think the atmosphere became more and more electric as Morocco scored their first 2 goals and won, and then Argentina came back and put Morocco under pressure, so you could feel the tension very much. Then what we saw happening after that second goal, the offside goal, the everything they threw on the pitch, the pitch invasion, all of that is something that is not acceptable.
Argentina, Fernando, seem to be almost casting themselves as the villains of international football at the moment.
And Argentina's anthem was booed there. Argentina were kicking off their attempt to win a gold medal in that competition, and they see them as one of the biggest rivals to France's chances of winning a gold medal in Rugby Sevens competition. But again, it's the anti-Argentinian sentiment that most athletes take back to the Qatar World Cup final and the recent Enzo Fernandez's chance. Also, the sentiment is strong against the Argentinians, again, not only in soccer.
And this is something that obviously, Jules, they're going to have to address security-wise. Because did we hear Mascherano come out and say that someone was robbed during Argentinian training, that someone went into the dressing room?
Yeah, I saw what he said. I mean, I've tried to see if there was an investigation open in Saint-Etienne, where the Argentina team stayed, obviously, for the game. I could not get any confirmation that the police were called or that something happened. I'm not really sure exactly where we are in that story, but there's no reason why Mascherano would lie. So it looks like while they were training the day before the game, I guess the dressing room of where the Argentina players had left all their belongings and all the jewelry and everything was robbed and burglared, I guess we can say that. So this is something, I guess, that should also be addressed, because there's nowhere any teams in this tournament or anywhere really should be going for training not being sure that all their belongings are safe.
This is an embarrassing start to the Olympics, and it's something, obviously, the Olympic Committee in France are going to want to address, Fernando, and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Not only that, I mean, the Olympic Committee is under a watchful eye. Of course, the opening ceremonies will be here in Paris in 2 days, and that is going to be a it is starting to become a logistical nightmare, not only for the organizers, but for the city officials as well. There's train stations that are closed, metro stations that are closed down, streets all over the Seine River are closed, as well as a mayhem to maneuver yourself around a city that has its citizens opposing the start of the games already, and they haven't even started. And then the first news to come out of the first day of competition is what happened in Saint-Etienne, that it turns out to be an embarrassing start for an Olympics that were supposed to be a page-turner in the history of the Olympic movement.
Fernando, before we let you go, is this Jules' house behind you? His chain of restaurants? What is it?
That Jules, yeah, well, actually just noticed that. I don't know if Jules is sponsoring that thing. Put in his name in the restaurants. We're going to have a cup of coffee there tomorrow morning.
all that podcast money is going. Fernando, thank you very much.
Jules has his connections. Jules has his connections. I didn't know he had his chain of connections.
Man, fingers in many pies is Jules. Fernando, thank you very much.